Welcome to the OnBase Unity form or electronic form training. I am going to walk you through the process of preparing for a meeting in order for you to be able to use these electronic forms during your home visits using your iPad. First of all, we want to make sure that you prepare for your meeting at your desk and using your desktop, and not prepare for your meeting at your desk using your iPad. That's very important because many features of this program are available on your desktop but not available on your iPad. On your desktop, you will find an icon that is called OnBase Unity Client. You're going to click on that and this screen will appear. You are going to log into this OnBase Unity client with the credentials you log in to use SanDisk or to log into your computer every morning. And you will click Login. As soon as you log in, this is the screen you're going to see. Very important. Out of all these icons you see on the upper portion of the screen, you are only going to worry about 3 of them. One of them is Forms, the other one is Custom Queries, and the other one is Personal Page. If I click on Forms, you will see that on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see a list of all the forms that are available for you to use as electronic forms. These are blank electronic forms. Custom Queries is what you are going to see to be able to access those forms that you have already completed. Last but not least is your personal page. So I've created my personal page with the most commonly used forms for the type of caseload that I have. Since I don't work for Early Start, I've created a personal page with forms that have to do with ongoing case management, but I don't really care to see all the Early Start forms. To add to your personal page, you are going to go to the Forms icon. You're going to right-click on the mouse, selecting a form, and you're going to select Add to Personal Page. And when you go to the personal page, that form magically appears there. Another great thing about this is that you can actually rename the titles on your forms for ease of use. So for example, I renamed the placement referral form to just call it the 159A because it's easier for me to find that way. And instead of having the ROI be named authorization to release information, I just renamed it and called it ROI. I also separated my forms. So I have all my English versions of my form on one side of the page, but if I scroll to the right, I have my Spanish forms on the other side. So you are welcome to do this. This is actually something that you don't have to do, but it's kind of easier to go to your personal page every time you're going to use a Unity form. Let's just pretend you're preparing for an IPP meeting and you're going to go out and do your IPP is every 3 years, and it's that 3rd year and you're going to go out and do your IPP. So one of the things that I would want to create for my IPP meeting is the IPP summary sheet. So go ahead and open it up and you will find that something that looks similar to the paper copy of your signature page. Unity forms are all triggered by UCI numbers. So you do need to know the UCI number of the client you're preparing for the meeting for. Type in the UCI number, you press enter, and the first name and the last name and the date of birth of the client will autofill. We are working on new autofills for all these forms. But right now, there's just some fields that autofill. So let's just pretend that the meeting is going to take place on March 24th. Okay, and I'm preparing for it 3 days before. I know that the meeting is on Friday the 24th. I know that I have this IPP once every 3 years. And I know that my contact with this family is once every 6 months. And that depends pretty much on the type of caseload you have. A note on the next IPP date. And I'm explaining this and stressing on this because these forms, you will learn that after they're signed, they lock. And if you have wrong dates or wrong information on them, you literally can't unlock them. You can't unlock them, your PM can't unlock them, nor our IS department can unlock them. So you have to be very careful that when you're typing the information on these forms, that it's the correct information. The date of the next IPP for this client would be 3/24/2020. Okay, so I'm going to select 3/24 and I'm just going to type the 20 here. Okay, because it's on a tri-annual basis. The outcomes and services and whatever you write in this box here would be what you're handwriting now in your meetings. So you're going to leave that blank. Pretty much this shows as a closed inactive case because it's a client that we're using that's inactive. But in your case here, you would type in your name. So let's just say that I'm the service coordinator. I'm in Unit 12. This is all the stuff that you can complete ahead of time. I'm gonna write down my PM's name and his or her phone number. The rest, the clicking will take place at the time of the meeting. And pretty much, I can select the date of the meeting. So I already have all this filled out. But pretty much, that's all I'm going to fill out for a signature page or a summary sheet. One of the items that you will fill out maybe before the meeting, if you know who's going to attend the meeting other than the client or the parent, you can add team members. So let's just say that you are going to have, at the time of the meeting, you are going to have somebody from the facility they live in. So anytime you press add, you can add as many team members as you want. You can remove them as well. And you're going to just, type in their name, their title, and the agency they're representing at the meeting. Like I said, you can add or remove as many as you want. One of the questions that you're going to ask yourself is, okay, so the team members, where do they sign? There is no requirement for the team members to sign a signature page. The only requirement is that a client, parent, or conservator sign the signature page or the summary sheet at the time of an IPP. The team members, they just need to be listed. So that's kind of a change of what you're used to doing now. You don't have to pass a paper around for everybody to sign. You're just going to add them as a planning team member. So this one's pretty much ready for the time of the meeting. This is all I'm going to do on this form. Submit in this program pretty much means save. So I'm going to click on submit, and it tells me that the form was submitted successfully. Okay, so I'm going to close that window, and I'm going to, for this meeting, I also need the famous benefit review form because you have to update that annually. And so I'm going to click on the benefit review form. And this, once again, everything's triggered by UCI number. So I'm going to enter that UCI. You see that some of the fields autofill. I know the date of the meeting is going to be the 24th. And pretty much you are going to fill in whatever information you already have. This form is usually filled out by the parent or the client or the conservator. So you want to, if you have some of this information, go ahead and fill that out, like the mother's name, their date of birth is already autofilling. If you have the parent's health insurance, the coverage, if you have that already in your soft file or already in the record, if you want, you can fill all this in so the family doesn't have to waste their time filling everything out. If not, you do it at the time of the meeting. But basically, this form looks exactly like our benefit review form looks. And the beautiful thing about this form, and you'll learn later on in the training, is that the family will only have to fill it out once. And the following year, when you go to the family home, you're going to be able to just make a copy of this form, an electronic copy, and show it to the family and ask them, are there any changes to this? And if there are no changes, the family will just have to sign. They will never have to fill out this form twice. So once again, I'm just filling out dates, stuff that I can type in. Once again, here's your name. And that's about it that you can fill out this form. So once again, submit means save on Unity Forms. So I'm just going to submit this form as well. And I'm going to close. I also know that at the time of this meeting, I might need a release of information because I want to ask for some collateral from a school. So let's just say that I need the current IEP. So I'm going to just create one for the family. So I'm ready for this and I don't have to do this at the family home. Once again, I type in the UCI. So this is pretty much the release. Anything that resembles a little downward arrow, if you click on it, it's going to be a drop-down menu and you can select the address, you can select attention to whom would you want this mailed to, and pretty much here type the name of the school, the address if you have it. If you don't worry about it. The expiration on our ROIs is always 1 year from the time that they're signed, so I'm just going to make sure I have that down. And that's about it. That's all I can fill out on this one as well, because this is one that I'm going to need the information from the family and I'm going to need their signature as well. Okay, so I'm just going to press submit on this one as well. And it looks like I'm pretty much ready for the meeting. One thing that needs to happen before you go to the meeting. One thing about Unity Forms is that every time you press submit, the form is saved with the date that you create the form. So all these forms at this moment have the date of the date that you created them. And everything in our e-record really does have, everything's filed with the date the meeting took place. Before you go and start to prepare for another meeting, we want to make sure that your forms have the right date. And in order to do this, you are going to click on Custom Queries. In your screen, you are only going to see the option of All Client Records. Everything else will be invisible to you, okay? So you're going to click on All Client Records. Once again, you're going to type in that UCI and you're going to click enter. And one thing about this is that you are going to see that today is 3/21 and you are going to see the 3 forms you just created. But the meeting is actually not going to be taking place on 3/21. The meeting is going to be taking place on 3/24. So what I want to do is I want to change the dates of these forms, okay? So what you do is you just highlight the form. You are going to click on tasks, execute task, update date. It brings up a calendar. You're going to click on the 24th and submit. And you're going to do this with every one of the forms you just created. It's pretty much just 3 clicks. 3 clicks, 2. There you go. And you're going to say, well, nothing changed. Well, there's this button. Again, this little arrow here right next to All Client Records. You're going to click on it and there's a button that says refresh. And when you refresh, the dates on your forms have magically changed. You're ready for the meeting. You're ready to go to that meeting and use these forms you created at your desk. One last thing that before we actually go to the family home and I teach you what to do with all these forms you created is that you are going to need to create a client location sheet for each one of your clients. As you start using these forms, we want to move away from that handwritten client location sheet, and on every client e-record, we want the client location sheet to show as one that is a Unity form, an electronic form. So if I go to my personal page, I have my client location sheet here. If you don't have it, you just click on forms and you find it right here. And if I click on it, I'm going to see something very simple that doesn't require much information. So once again, I am going to enter the UCI and press enter. And right here, I'm just going to add the information of the client's current address. So forget about everything you've written on the old client location sheets. That's going to remain in the e-record. It's there. Nobody's going to touch it. But as of the time you start using these Unity forms, we want you to enter the date you're making the change. We want you to enter the client's address where they're living or they're placed or whatever information is their current address. For type of facility, you're going to say, they live in the family home, and you're just going to type your initials. It's exactly what you're doing now with the old client location sheet. Okay? So that's all you have to do, and press submit. Submit means it was saved. What do I have to do before? I'm going to have to change the date because the client location sheet has just been saved with the date March 21st, today's date. So what I want to do is go to custom queries one more time, all client records, look for that client location sheet that I just created, okay, which should be one that's dated 3/21, and I'm going to change the date on that. What we have agreed on, execute task, update task, is that we always want the client location sheet to be the first page that shows up in your e-record. When you go into OnBase, you want that client location sheet to be the first document you see. So we have decided to date all the client location sheets 01/01/2050. And the reason we're dating them 2050 is so they go way up the list and they'll always be the first document that you'll see when you open your e-record. Hope that makes sense. And you just click, press enter, refresh, and your client location sheet is now on top. I'm going to delete this other client location sheet that I have used for training purposes. So you have a client location sheet on top now. And this is the first document you'll always see when you open your e-record. One thing that I want to show you is that these electronic forms are always going to go directly into your e-record. So as you create them, I want to show you this because this is really important for you to see. As you create these forms, you will see that they go directly into the record. You don't have to send anything to records. You don't have to print it and put it in a scanning bin. You don't have to email it for it to be filed. The use of these forms, it automatically goes into the record. So as I opened the record we were just working on, the first thing that shows up, like I said, was your client location sheet. It's already in there. And if I go to the next option is I have my signature page that you just created for the meeting. And if I go to benefits, on top I should have, again, the benefit review form that you just created for the meeting. And in legal, I should have that ROI that I just created for the meeting. So as you can see, everything goes directly into the e-record. So I think that at this time we are completely ready to go to the family home and pull up these forms and have the family fill them out and sign them. This would be the second portion of this training.